This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.
Hey, thanks for listening to Classic Radio JAR101.
JAR101. It's amazing. It's Prell, P-R-E-L-L, Procter & Gamble's new Radiant Cream Shampoo in the handy tube.
Classic Radio JAR101.
Prell brings you The Life of Riley. Prell, the shampoo that removes unsightly dandruff in as little as 3 minutes and leaves hair radiantly clean, radiantly lovely, presents The Life of Riley with William Bendix as Riley. When Chester A. Riley and his friend and co-worker Jim Gillis start bragging about their respective sons, Junior and Egbert, the superlatives fly thick and fast. At the moment, Gillis and Riley are walking home from work.
All I say, Riley, is did you ever stop to ask yourself what kind of a boy your Junior is?
My Junior? Well, he's a boyish type boy.
Believe me, Riley, your Juniors are nothing. But look at my Egbert. Look at my Egbert.
Look at my Egbert. Well, I've looked at your Egbert, and you've got my deepest sympathy.
Calm down, Riley. Why should we lose your temper?
Well, you're always slighting my Junior, and it hurts.
All I mean is, if you want your boy to amount to something, you got to watch him when he's young. Find out what's his talent and nourish him.
Why?
Why? A delicate flower won't grow unless it's fertilized. Well, my Egbert is a flower, and I'm his fertilizer.
Well, my Junior's got talent, plenty of talent.
Oh, yeah? What?
Well, last summer at the beach, he swam underwater for 5 minutes without coming up for air. That's a talent.
Oh, sure. That's a fine talent. If you want him to grow up to be a barracuda. I'm talking a talent for a career.
Oh.
Here, look at this. It's a copy of what they're going to say about my Egbert in the class yearbook.
What yearbook?
Didn't your Junior show you his? Well, I can guess why.
Yeah, well, he'll show it to me. He probably didn't get this month's yearbook. I mean, I guess he forgot.
Here, take a look. Egbert Gillis. Activities, president of the chemistry club. Best subject, chemistry. Prizes, aluminum medal for chemistry. Hobby, chemistry. And guess what it says on the future profession?
Streetcar conductor?
Chemical engineer.
Oh.
Sure, chemical engineer. Why, one of these days, Egbert Gillis will be working for the DuPont Corporation. And who knows? He may marry one of the DuPont girls. Will I be a proud father when I look up who's who and see my son's name, Egbert DuPont.
Oh, yeah? Well, I've seen my Junior swim underwater for 8 minutes. He almost drowned it.
Face the facts, Riley. Without talent, your son ain't gonna have no future. Boy, will you sound like a dope at the father and son dinner next Monday.
Well, what father and son dinner?
Don't your kid tell you nothing? The class is giving a banquet for the boys and their fathers only. But mothers can come, too. And every father is going to talk about his kid's future profession. What are you going to say, Riley? What's your boy's future going to be?
I'll think of something. Don't worry about me. I'll see that my boy has a future if it takes me 100 years. Junior, did you find that yearbook?
Yeah, Pop, I just found it.
Oh, Riley, I don't understand you. For months, you don't show the slightest interest in junior school. Then all of a sudden,
Look,
you get this...
Peg, you want our boy to have a future, don't you? Well, I want to see his future on paper.
Here's the proof, Pop. It was in my briefcase.
Oh, let's see that. Here we are. Chester A. Riley, Jr. Activities, substitute cheerleader. Cheerleader. For this, I spent $50 to take out your tonsils.
Gee whiz, Pop. What's wrong with...
All right, we'll let that pass. Let's see what it says about your future profession. Here it is. Future profession. A question mark.
Well, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Oh, be reasonable, Riley. It just means Junior hasn't made up his mind yet.
Yeah, well, it's time he did. After all, he's 13, and all he's got on his mind are movies.
And when you were 13, what did you have on your mind?
Why, when I was 13, Okay, Peg, I admit I was kind of wild when I was 13, and you were right not to elope with me. But now, tell me, Junior, what do you think you'd like to be, huh?
Well, gosh, I don't know.
Well, but there must be some kind of work you'd like to do.
Oh, well... Well, I wouldn't mind a job like yours, I guess.
No. Well, that's fine. That's just dandy. I can just hear the horse laugh I'll get at the school dinner when I get up and say, my son wants to be just like me. But, Junior, think. There must be something you feel you'd like to be.
Well, I told you yesterday, Pop. I just don't know.
But you've got to know. What am I going to say at the dinner when they get... Oh, what's the use?
Junior, dear, why didn't you tell us about this dinner? You forgot, was that it?
Yeah, I just didn't think you'd want to go.
Well, why shouldn't I want to go? I'm your father, ain't I?
You certainly are, dear.
Thanks for backing me up, Peg. Now, look, son.
Well, excuse me, Pop. I got to wash up for supper.
Yeah, but I want to... Oh, Peg, we might as well face it. Our boy is a failure. It takes some men 50 years to become a failure. Junior did it in 13.
Oh. Now, it isn't that serious. Why, he's still a baby. He's got plenty of time to decide later on, when he's in college.
It's too late, then. He's got to have talent now. If I only knew what it was, I could build it up. Now, if he wanted to be, let's say, an artist, I'd give him paints to play around with. Or if he wanted to be a writer, I'd give him pencils and paper. Or if he wanted to be a banker, I'd give him... I don't want him to be a banker.
He'll decide when the time comes.
You know, Peg, talent runs in families. Maybe Junior... Let's see now. Whoever amounted to anything on my side of the family. Well, let's look at your side of the family.
Well, my father had a second cousin who was a great surgeon.
No kidding.
Yes, Ezra Barker. He was very famous.
Hey, maybe Junior takes after him.
Oh, don't be silly.
Well, why not? Surgery, that could be his talent. Only it's hidden. But I'll find out if it's there.
Well, what are you going to do? Let Junior take out your appendix?
Oh, please. Now, don't be ridiculous. You know I had my appendix out a year ago. But you've still got yours.
Riley.
I mean, I'll think of something. Don't worry. I'll think of something. Oh, this soup was delicious. Nice and tender.
Please pass the olives, Pop.
Yeah, here, son.
Well, here we are.
Oh, roast chicken, my favorite dish.
Here, you carve, Riley.
Yeah, it'll be a pleasure.
Here's a carving knife, Pop.
Thanks, son. Wait a minute.
What's the matter?
Why are you staring at me, Pop?
Peg, look. Look at Junior's fingers.
I washed them.
No, I mean, they're so long and slender and delicate.
Oh, go on and carve, Riley.
No. Junior, you carve.
Me?
Now, Riley...
Now, Peg, I know what I'm doing. Go on, Doctor. Junior.
Okay. I always wanted to carve.
You did? You see, Peg, I was right. Go ahead, grab that scalpel and start operating, Doc.
Okay, nurse. What'll you have, Mom?
Oh, I'd like the leg, dear.
I'll have a wing.
Take some white meat for yourself, Junior.
Yeah, okay. Well, here goes. Yeah. This chicken's tough.
Why, it is not. It's like butter.
Yeah, well, Junior, don't tear the leg off like that. If that was a human being on that platter, he'd resent it.
I guess I'm not very good at this.
No, don't say that, Doc. You're good.
Here's yours, Mom.
Thanks, dear.
And here, Pop. Here's the wing.
The wing? You call this the wing? Why, this is the fine surgeon you turned out to be. Some surgeon, the way he was tearing at that poor chicken.
Oh, forget it, will you? That's all you've been harping about for the last hour.
I can't forget it. A father's got a duty to his kid. Junior's going to amount to something if I... where is he, anyway?
Oh, now leave him alone. He's in his room reading.
Reading? Oh, that.
Well, he's got some new book about big game hunting in Africa.
No kidding. He's interested in that?
I guess so. He's had his nose stuck in that book for a week.
Well, that's it. A big game hunter. That's what he'll be.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
That's even better than being a doctor. He'll bring him back alive. There's a fortune in it.
Oh, stop dreaming.
Another Frank Buck. That's a real profession. Just think, Peg. He'll go all over the world, stalking elephants, trapping lions, shooting tigers. You know, that takes guts. It takes real courage.
Junior.
Junior, what's the matter? Junior, why are you standing on a bureau?
There's a mouse in my room.
What a revolting development this is.
Well, Riley, did you figure out what you're going to say at the father and son dinner?
Well, I ain't sure I'm going, Gillis. Something came up, and I
see. Too bad, pal. Well, I got my speech all wrote, and afterwards my egg bite is going to perform one of his chemical experiments.
Okay, Gillis, okay.
Yes, sir, right in front of all them people. Egg bite will take a test tube, a couple of chemicals, figure out a secret formula, and invent iodine. Or maybe bicarbonate of soda.
Yeah, I guess you were right, Gillis. Junior's got no ambition. He don't show no interest in anything.
So what? I wouldn't worry about it. But just to be on the safe side, I'd have the kid's head examined.
What? Are you hinting there's something wrong with my Junior?
Oh, no, nothing like that. But you know, kids his age get these here complexes. What I meant was, maybe you ought to have him psycho-analyzed. You know, like in the movies, Gregory Peck lays down on the couch, and Ingrid Bergman finds out what's going on in his noodle.
That's enough, Gillis. I ain't going to stand here and let you insult my Junior.
Okay, just giving you a friend.
There's nothing wrong with my Junior. He's just as normal as I am. I'd better have that kid psychoalkalized.
Oh, Riley, I'm going over to Mrs. Benny's for a minute. Will you... Riley, what on earth you doing?
I'm reading. Well, what's the matter? Didn't you ever see a guy read a book before?
Well, yes, but you haven't touched a book since last summer when you wanted to press that flower. Well, what book is it?
Oh, it's just something I picked up in the library. It's...
Well, let me see.
Oh, don't, Peg.
Oh, An Introduction to Psychoanalysis by Dr. Sigmund Freud. What do you want with that?
Nothing special. I'm just in the mood for a little light reading, that's all.
All right, dear. You go right on with your reading. I'll wake you up when I get back. Bye.
Where was I? Oh, here. Case Y. Patient was 14-year-old boy suffering from complex neuroses during adolescence. Well, Junior's almost 14. Let's see now. Chief symptoms: indecision, vaccination, sense of inferiority, lack of interest. Oh, that's Junior's case exactly. Analysis revealed basic cause to be an octopus complex and a deep-rooted hatred of his father. Oh, no. He hates me. He hates me. How could he hate me when I'm so lovable? However, complete cure was effected by inducing patient to talk freely and frankly admit this father hatred. Once this mental block was removed, patient became normal and adjusted, and today is outstanding attorney. Imagine that. Just because the kid admitted he hated his father. Junior, come in here.
Did you call me, Pop?
Yes, I did. Junior, lay down.
What?
I said lay down over there on the couch.
Oh, but I'm not tired.
Do as I say. Lay down. Remember, I'm your father.
Okay, I'll lie down.
Now tell me, son, who's your father?
My what?
Don't get up. Lay there. Now, come on. Who's your father?
Well, you are.
Now we're getting somewhere. Now, how do you feel about me, son?
How do I feel?
Yeah, you hate me, don't you?
Who, me? Oh, of course not.
Come on, admit it. Say you hate me.
But I don't hate you.
Now, don't be stubborn, Junior. Before I'm through with you, you'll hate me.
Let me up, will you, Pop? You're sitting on me.
No, I ain't getting off you till you're cured. Now, come on, talk freely. Admit you hate me and you'll make me the happiest man in the world.
But I don't hate you, Pop. I love you.
You don't love me. You hate me.
Goodness, what's all the shouting about?
Oh, Peg, we might as well face it. Junior loves me. He's a hopeless case.
We'll hear the second act of The Life of Riley in a moment.
Say, Ken, from Maine to California, the family choice is Prell. Procter & Gamble's new Radiant Cream Shampoo in the handy tube.
Of course, Prell's a family favorite for two reasons.
First, Prell leaves hair far more radiant than old-fashioned soap or soap shampoo because Prell can't leave a dulling soap film.
Second, Prell removes unsightly dandruff in as little as 3 minutes. Examinations by a group of doctors proved it. In case after case, even stubborn dandruff was controlled by only 2 shampoos a week.
And how the family loved that handy Prell tube. No messy jars, no slippery bottles. Prell's easy to use.
Economical, too. A little makes mountains of lather. So for hair radiantly clean, radiantly soft and smooth, ask for
P-R-E-L-L Prell Shampoo. Leaves hair radiant, gleaming bright. Not a bit of dandruff is in sight. Comes in a tube, handy too. P-R-E-L-L Prell Shampoo.
by Prell. And now back to The Life of Riley with William Bendix as Riley.
Hello, Peg.
Oh, hello, dear. You're home early.
Well, tonight's the school banquet. I got to straighten some things out. Where's Junior?
He's in his room. Now, you leave Junior alone, Dr. Freud. He's my boy, too, and I'm not worried about his future.
Yeah, but what'll I say at that dinner tonight?
What you always say at dinner. More meat, please.
But the speech. Oh, the other fathers will make a speech, and I'll be speechless.
Oh, so what? Now, go on, get dressed. It's late.
I ain't going.
You're not going.
No.
All right, then don't go. I'll go alone with Junior.
Oh,
Well-
say, Mom, can you let me have 2 spools of thread and a needle and your scissors?
Well, it's in my sewing basket in my room, dear. What do you want it for?
Well, I got an idea to make something.
Some son I got. Instead of taking chemicals and inventing something, he plays around with needles and thread. Guess we're raising a tailor. Some profession.
Well, what's wrong with being a tailor?
Why... Hey, that's right. There's nothing wrong with it. Only not a tailor, a dress designer. Maybe that's his talent.
Oh, now don't
Heck,
start
I
in
got a feeling this is it. A dress designer.
Oh.
Why, there's a fortune in it. He'll have a saloon in Paris and a saloon in New York.
It's salon.
And just think, when all them young society debutantes come out, they'll come out of his dresses. Oh, he'll be famous. What a thrill when you and me go to Paris and we look up and we see the big sign with his name, our son, Madam Junior Riley.
Come down to earth, will you? Just because he asked for a needle and thread doesn't mean...
No, this time I got a hunch. Come on, let's go see what our little genius is creating, huh?
Riley, I've got to finish
No,
ironing
come
my
on,
dress.
this is more important. Oh, hey, Madam Junior,
Huh?
show your mother and me your creation.
My what?
What you made with the needle and thread.
Oh, no,
Now, come on, don't be so modest. Show us.
Okay. Look.
Peg, isn't that the most beautiful? Is that what you made?
What on earth is it?
It's a yo-yo. Our little genius made a yo-yo. Fine son I got. I depend on him and he lets me down. Well, I learned my lesson. This is the last time anybody will ever let me down.
I wouldn't be too sure of that.
Who's that?
It is I, Digby Odell, the friendly undertaker. Going my way?
Why, I don't know. Where you going, Digger?
Into the school there, to the father and son dinner.
Oh.
I'm going to deliver a little eulogy about my son, Marblestone. He's already inside, waiting for the services to begin.
You got a fine boy there, Digger.
Oh, he adores me. He worships the very ground I work in.
Yeah, well, tell me, Digger, have you found out what his profession is going to be?
Ah, yes. I've known ever since he was 3 years old. One day at the beach, he buried me in the sand.
Well, yeah, but that don't prove nothing.
He
Digger.
buried me 6 feet deep. That's good enough for me.
Well, I don't know what's the matter with my junior. He never buried me. He's got no interest. Not even a hobby.
Oh, everyone should have a hobby. Now, me, I'm an animal man myself.
Huh?
I love to watch the gophers making their little mounds. Beautiful technique. I love to watch a turtle when it's flat on its back. But best of all, I love to sit near a lily pond and watch the frogs croak. But come, Riley, we'll be late for the festivities.
No, I ain't going in. Peg's going with Junior, but I ain't going. I ain't got nothing to say.
Riley, I despise cowards.
Digger, you really think I ought to go?
When Odell says you've got to go, you go.
Okay.
In that case, we'd better be shoveling off.
And, ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with this thought. My 30 years as a teacher and principal have convinced me of the truth of the old saying, the boy is father to the man.
Oh, the principal's a wonderful speaker, isn't he, Junior?
Yeah, he's okay for a principal.
Hello, Peg.
Riley, I'm so glad you came, dear.
Hiya, Pop.
Here's a chair. Sit down.
Yeah.
And now we're going to hear from another proud father, Mr. James Madison Gillis.
All right. I hope they won't ask me to speak.
Don't worry, they won't ask you unless you tell them you want to speak.
Well, I'm not going to.
Mr. Principal, fellow fathers and mothers, I'm sure we all enjoyed the cute little talk the principal just gave us, but now we come to something interesting. Now, I ain't the kind of a father that likes to boast about his kid. I believe that actions speak louder than words. So now, my son Egbert is going to perform a very unusual chemical experiment right before your eyes. Egbert?
Yes, Papa?
What are you going to invent, son, with your chemical set?
Well, I think I'll make some NaCl.
You hear that, folks? He's going to make knuckle.
Oh, Junior, why couldn't you have a knack for making knuckle?
But NaCl is just sodium chloride table salt.
Well, go ahead, Egbert. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm not quite ready yet, Papa.
Oh. Well, while we're waiting, we can kill a little time by hearing from one of the other fathers. How's about my good friend Riley?
No.
Come on, Riley.
No,
Tell us about your junior's future.
No, I can't. It's a secret.
Go on, Riley. Say something. Everybody's staring.
Well, Mr. Principal, fellow fathers and fellow mothers. Well, for a long time now, I've been studying my boy, Junior. First, I thought Junior was going to be a... And then it turned out that he wasn't going to be that, and instead we thought he had talent for, but we found out he really didn't have talent for, so we... ladies and gentlemen, I give you my wife's son, Junior.
Oh, Pop, I don't want to talk.
You got it. You want me to be disgraced?
Papa, I'm ready now.
Oh, Egbert's ready now. Okay, Riley, sit down.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, Egbert, my dear boy.
In this here test tube here, I have some hydrochloric acid here.
You hear that, folks? Hydrochloric acid. Go ahead, darling.
Now I take this Bunsen burner here and heat the contents of this test tube here. Observe how it burns with the bright...
Oh,
Papa, it exploded.
Egbert, let me look at you. Egbert, darling, what happened to your eyebrows? Oh, my poor ancient, he lost his eyebrows.
Papa, my hand got burned. Oh, my
Is
hand.
there a doctor in the house? Get a doctor, quick.
Why, he'll be all right, Mr. Gillis. I know what to do. Where's the tannic acid? Oh, here. Now, hold out your hand, Egbert. Yeah, there. Now, you'll be all right in a minute. Oh, that feels good, Junior.
Here, stand aside. I'm a doctor. Let me see that hand.
I put tannic acid on it, Doctor.
Oh, good. Exactly what I would have done. That was quick thinking, son. You'll make a fine doctor someday.
Peg, he'll make a doctor.
I'm going to sue the Board of Education for this.
But I'm all right now, Papa.
Oh, no, you're not all right. I'm going to sue. There must have been something wrong with that Bunsen burner. I'll sue, that's what I'll do.
Well, you can't sue, Mr. Gillis. It was Egbert's own Bunsen burner. The school's not responsible.
Yeah, the boy's right, Mr. Gillis. You have no case here.
Oh, yeah? What do you know about it?
Well, aside from being the principal, I also happen to be a lawyer.
A lawyer?
Well, we'll see about that. I'm taking this case to court.
I'll bet you lose, Mr. Gillis. I'll bet you 5-1.
5-1. Peg.
Well, what's the matter?
Now I know what Junior's going to be. Hey, everybody, listen. I know what my Junior's going to be. He's going to be a doctor, a lawyer, and a bookmaker.
The Rileys will be back in just a moment. For radiant hair, it's Prell, Procter & Gamble's new Radiant Cream Shampoo in the handy tube. Miss Margaret McLean of New York City says,
Since I use Prell, my boyfriend says he's never seen my hair so attractive. And it's true. Prell leaves my hair sparkling with radiance, soft and smooth, easy to care for.
yes, one trial and you'll agree. Prell's amazing for two reasons. One, Prell removes unsightly dandruff quickly. Two, Prell leaves hair radiantly beautiful. You'll sing about
P-R-E-L-L, Prell shampoo. Leaves hair radiant, gleaming bright. Not a bit of dandruff is in sight. Comes in a tube, handy too. P-R-E-L-L, Prell shampoo.
Oh, I was proud of the way Junior came through tonight. Junior's going to have a great future.
Of course he is.
Yeah, Junior's okay. You'll see, we'll be proud of that boy. I'll bet you in 10 years he'll be so rich he won't even talk to us. Oh, we'll be proud of that boy. This is Riley, alias William Bendix. Give gladly. Red Cross serves you. In the past year, nearly 400,000 persons were given disaster rehabilitation aid in 46 states, the Districts of Columbia, and Alaska. Red Cross serves you with emergency relief when disaster strikes. Put Red Cross in your budget. Give gladly to the 1948 fund drive. Good night, folks.
Procter & Gamble invites you to join us again next week to hear The Life of Riley with William Bendix as Riley. The script is by Alan Lipscott and Reuben Ship. Mrs. Riley is Paula Winslow. Digger Odell is John Brown. The Life of Riley is produced by Irving Brecker.
Oh, she was the Gibson girlie. Along on a tandem she'd go. Her blouses she kept white and pearly with wonderful ivory snow.
Ah, wonderful ivory snow. Just the beauty bath to keep your lovely blouses, lingerie, and nylons new-looking longer. And your hands will tell you why Ivory Snow keeps nice things lovely longer. Prove it. This week, wash dishes with Ivory Snow. When you see how it pampers your hands, you'll know it's extra kind to your fine fabrics. There's no other soap like it. Ivory Snow is the only soap, both ivory mild and granulated for efficiency. Make suds instantly in lukewarm, even in cool water. Ivory Snow is so kind to your hands, you just know it's kind to sheer nylons and lovely blouses, sweaters, and lingerie.
Oh, wonderful ivory snow.
S-N-O-W.
This is Ken Niles reminding you that for radiantly clean, lovely hair, get the shampoo in the tube. P-R-E-L-L. Prell Shampoo. Listen again next week when Prell brings you The Life of Riley. And now, stay tuned for Truth or Consequences. Good night.
We appreciate you spending your time with us. Classic Radio JAR 101.
Mother, is Maxwell House the best coffee in the whole world?
Well, your father says so, and your father knows best.
Yes, it's Father Knows Best, transcribed in Hollywood, starring Robert Young as father. A half-hour visit with your neighbors, the Andersons. Brought to you by Maxwell House, the coffee that's bought and enjoyed by more people than any other brand of coffee at any price. Maxwell House, always good to the last drop. All marriages, we've oft been told, are figured out in heaven. But there must be an annex on Maple Street at number 607. In the event that you didn't know, that's where the Andersons live. And that's where Dan Cupid gets in some pretty powerful licks, like this.
But I'm not hungry.
Stop arguing, Kathleen, and eat your dinner.
Margaret, I see no reason why the children have to eat at this ridiculous hour.
I don't mind eating at 5 o'clock.
You don't mind eating, period.
Is that so?
By 9 o'clock, they'll be storming around here like a bunch of starving Armenians. And if you think...
Jim, Louise will hear you. She's upstairs getting dressed.
Well, it wasn't her idea. It was yours. Candlelight and soft music.
She happens to be my favorite cousin. And if she needs a little help in getting Tom Goodwin to propose...
They've been going together for almost 5 years, and if he hasn't proposed by this time...
Jim, he's going to propose, believe me.
I don't know. Women get these weird ideas.
There's nothing weird about marriage.
There isn't, huh? Look, honey, the guy obviously isn't the marrying type. It doesn't take 5 years to make up your mind.
I'm going to see to it that Tom Goodwin proposes to my cousin Louise tonight.
Bud?
Yes, Dad?
I want you to keep this little scene in mind. It may come in very handy in the future.
Okay, Dad.
Jim.
A poor guy by the name of Goodwin just goes along minding his own business, and what happens? They gang up on him, set traps.
Do they really, Daddy?
Oh, yes. Flickering candlelight, the sweet scent of camellias.
I thought camellias didn't smell.
For what I'm being charged, they'd better smell.
Isn't he awful, Mother, just because he's a man?
Now, there's another thing. Isn't it disgraceful? I'm a man. You know, this isn't just a case of Louise and her friend having dinner with us. This is a fight to the finish. The hunters smell blood, and they're closing in for the kill.
I thought they were just going to have dinner.
Bud, as you grow older, you'll learn that women have a peculiar attitude when it comes to unattached males. If a man wanders around unmarried, every woman in the world considers it a personal insult. They band together. They form little groups. They compare strategies.
Father. Leave him alone, dear. He'll run down.
You see, Bud?
I don't get it.
I don't, too.
Well, it's very simple, children. Your mother, being a woman, and I wouldn't have it any other way, is trying to get poor Tom Goodwin to commit matrimony with her cousin Louise.
Oh. Well, sure.
Did you understand that?
Keep still or he'll explain it again.
Jim, I don't understand your sudden interest in poor Tom Goodwin. You don't even know the man.
That has nothing to do with it. He's a man. And in a case like this, we've got to stick together. Right, Bud?
Oh, sure.
Oh, Bud, those are probably the flowers. Will you get them like a good boy?
How about my cake?
No one's going to touch your cake.
Well, I better take it with me anyway.
Bud, you'll get crumbs all over the floor. Oh, dear, if he gets this house messed up...
Honey, don't you think you're going a little overboard on this thing?
I certainly do not. Tom Goodwin is coming all the way from Middletown for this dinner, and if one thing goes wrong...
Nothing is going wrong, Mother. He'll be hooked before he knows what hit him.
Who's going to get hooked?
Never mind, dear. Just drink your milk.
What I like is the high plane on which females conduct these campaigns. He's going to be hooked.
Who is, Daddy?
Betty, it's Dick Andrews.
Tell him I'll be right there.
Betty, you haven't finished your dinner.
Oh, it's all right, Mother. We're going to stop in for a hamburger on the way to rehearsal.
Well, don't stay out too late, dear.
I won't. And good hunting. So long, everybody.
If she knew she was going to have a hamburger, why did she...
I can't understand what happened to the flowers. They were supposed to be here at 4.
You still didn't tell me.
Tell you what, dear?
Who's going to get hooked?
No one is, Kathy, and please drink your milk.
Anytime nobody wants to tell me anything, drink your milk.
Boys, that Dick Andrews a character. You know what he's got on? 3 mufflers and Hey, what happened to my cake?
Sit down and drink your milk.
But I had a whole piece of cake.
You took it with you.
I did? Oh. Well, I guess I ate it. You know what Dick Andrews had on?
3 mufflers.
Yeah. What a character.
Jim, if the flowers aren't here in 15 minutes, you'll have to go after them.
I have to change my shirt. What's the matter with Bud?
He's leaving as soon as he finishes his milk.
Me too. I'm being stashed over at Patty's, so I won't say anything.
Well, you've certainly got everything all figured out, haven't you?
Yes, dear. To the last detail.
Poor guy. I hope he knows what he's in for.
Meaning me, I suppose.
Oh, hello, Louise.
Don't pay any attention to Jim, dear. He's just being a man.
Oh, Margaret, would you mind very much if
Louise, you haven't changed your clothes.
I know, dear. You see, I've been thinking the whole thing over, and I'm not
She
sure
looks all right, Margaret. Why don't you leave her alone?
Louise Baker, you march right upstairs and put on your blue dress.
Margaret.
Honey, if she doesn't want
Jim, will you please leave this to me?
Oh, he's here.
He isn't here. He won't be here for an hour. It's only the man with the flowers. Bud?
Yes, ma'am. It's a good thing for this family. I know how to open a door.
He's the ambitious type.
Margaret, would you mind very much if we called the whole thing off?
I most certainly would.
But if Tom ever finds out...
Louise, you can't call off an avalanche. And once Margaret gets started, well, that's it.
Somebody's going to get hooked.
Kathy.
Oh, dear.
Don't worry about helpful Henrietta. She'll be out of here before you can say, why, Tom, how sudden.
Jim, when it comes to being helpful...
Well, even if he does propose, Margaret, it won't work. A man shouldn't be tricked into marriage.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Shouldn't. A marriage has to be built on a firmer foundation. And if it starts out with trickery and deceit, well, how can it possibly last?
Jim and I've done all right, haven't we?
Now, wait a minute.
What is it, Bud?
It was Mr. Davis, and he said to tell you he was awfully sorry, but they have to go over to his mother's for dinner.
Oh, dear. Now what are we going to do about Kathy?
Why don't I go over to the Woodies?
Why don't I just go back to Middletown?
You go upstairs and change your clothes. And let's not have any more of this nonsense.
Better do what she says, Louise. She's a pretty rough customer.
I'll see you later.
Just a minute, Bud.
But Joe's waiting for me.
Go ahead, Louise.
Margaret, I am not a child.
Of course you aren't. Now go upstairs and change.
Oh, good grief. This is the silliest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Wait until after you're married. That's when the silly things really begin.
Jim, what are you trying to do?
What am I supposed to do? Just stand here?
Oh, Bud, you'll take Kathy with you.
Oh, boy!
Holy cow, Mom.
You're only going over to Joe's.
I know, but we're going to invent a telephone.
Okay, Kathy can be the bell.
Holy cow.
Go ahead, Bud, and take good care of your sister.
If she touches one thing...
I won't, Bud. Honest, I won't. You won't even know I'm there. Really, you won't.
Holy cow.
Margaret.
Yes, dear?
Would you mind explaining one small thing to me?
Of course not, but don't you think you better run down for the flowers?
The flowers can wait. What did you mean, Jim and I have done all right?
Well, haven't we?
Naturally, but there wasn't any trickery involved in our marriage. The whole thing was my idea.
Oh, Jim, it was no such thing. I made up my mind the first day we ever met.
And I suppose I had nothing to do with it.
That's right.
Now, look, Margaret.
Angel, do you remember what happened the night you proposed?
Of course I do. I walked around the block 6 times before I had the nerve to go in.
It was only 5.
There was 6.
My father was counting them, and it was 5.
Okay, 5. But when I pushed the bell, that was it.
Jim, you were it before you even saw the bell.
You know, now that I think of it, I got the candlelight and soft music business myself, didn't I?
To a Wild Rose. Took me 6 months to learn the darn thing.
And come to think of it, I've never heard you play anything since. Just To a Wild Rose.
That's all it took.
Well, if that isn't the most cold-blooded, conniving, I'm getting to the point where I don't even like women.
You aren't supposed to, dear. Just me.
Think you're clever, don't you? I've got a good mind to tell Tom Goodman what this is all about.
You wouldn't dare.
Oh, I wouldn't I?
No, you wouldn't. Now stop acting like a spoiled little boy and answer the door.
Yes, Mother.
And if it isn't the man with the flowers, you will have to go after them.
I don't have to. But I will. Women, they think they're so smart about everything. Can't even let a man make up his own mind about getting married. Music, flowers. Well, it certainly took you long enough to get here.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson, but you see...
Never mind the explanations. Just give me the flowers.
Yes, sir.
You just about ruined everything.
I did?
You certainly did. You see, these aren't just flowers. These are tools to dig the grave of an unsuspecting bachelor.
They are?
Yep. Poor guy. He's as good as cooked right now. Well, where do I sign?
For what?
The flowers. Don't I have to sign for them?
Oh, no. You see, I'm Tom Goodwin.
Well, it looks like Father may have talked out of turn this time. And yet, more often than not, the man of the house does know exactly what he's talking about. For instance, ladies, when it comes to coffee, truly good coffee, that husband of yours is the world's greatest expert. No two ways about it. The #1 expert on coffee is your husband. Of course, grocers call us experts, too. They know more families enjoy our Maxwell House coffee than any other brand. But when you brew the coffee, the final judge is your husband. And tomorrow, if you'll fill his cup with wonderfully good Maxwell House, we're sure he'll smile across the table and say,
wonderful. Best coffee ever.
In fact, if he doesn't, we'll give you your money back. You see, we know no coffee tastes like Maxwell House because no coffee's made like Maxwell House. In all this world, there's only one recipe for that famous good to the last drop flavor. A recipe demanding certain choice coffees blended just so. And only Maxwell House has that recipe. So we say, take home a pound of our coffee. Tomorrow, serve your husband Maxwell House. If he doesn't say, best coffee ever, just send us the can, an unused portion, and we'll gladly refund the price you paid. Our address is plainly printed on every familiar blue tin. But enough from me. Tomorrow, see how much the world's greatest expert enjoys our coffee. Tomorrow, serve your husband Maxwell House coffee. Good to the last drop.
The candles have burned low in the Andersons' dining room, and the scent of flowers mingles gently with the memory of good red beef. The dinner hour is almost gone, and a delicate moment approaches. The time has arrived for the kill, like this.
Why don't we have our coffee in the living room? I think we'll be much more comfortable.
In the living room? Since when do we have...
Jim.
Oh, yes. Why don't we have our coffee in the living room? Be more comfortable.
Gosh, that was sure a wonderful dinner, Margaret.
Oh, well, thank you, Tom.
Margaret's a wonderful cook, isn't she?
She sure is.
Well, it runs in our family. Doesn't it, Louise?
Well, I wouldn't exactly say that.
She's just being modest, Tom. Grandmother Williams always used to say that our family produced the finest cooks in the entire country.
Ye gods.
What was that, dear?
Nothing. I was just, well, certainly looks romantic in here, doesn't it? Fire in the fireplace, all the lights turned off.
Jim.
Well, I was only saying...
Why don't you sit down, Tom, and we'll have our coffee.
Oh, thank you very much.
Cream and sugar?
No, thanks. I'll take it straight.
Louise?
Thank you, Margaret.
You take yours plain, too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Isn't that an amazing coincidence? You and Tom have so many things in common, don't you?
Oh.
Is something wrong, Jim?
No, I was just wondering when my turn was coming up. For coffee, I mean.
Here you are, dear.
Thank you very much. You know, Tom, it's a funny thing, but after you get used to having a few kids in the house...
Louise, why don't you play something for us?
Oh, I don't think I
Sure.
should.
Go ahead, Lou. You play, and we'll drink our coffee.
All right. How would you like To a Wild Rose?
What happened?
Jim, if you don't stop
It's
that.
all right. It went down the wrong pipe, that's all.
Go ahead, Louise.
Oh, but
Jim will love To a Wild Rose.
Oh, yes, it's practically my favorite song.
Yeah? Mine, too.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Well, that didn't last very long, did it?
Kathy, why aren't you...
Hi, everybody.
Bud.
Oh, Mrs. Anderson, Mr. Anderson.
You guys, they brought a friend.
Bud, I distinctly told you.
Mom, you know what she did? She blew out all the fuses at the Phillips.
I did not.
You certainly did.
I didn't either, did I, Joe?
Well, I don't know who did it, but the lights are sure all out.
Look, why don't you kids...
We told her to plug it in when we said okay.
You did not. You just said to plug it in.
Joe, you were right there. Didn't I tell her to wait?
Gosh, I don't know. I was down in the basement.
What were you trying to do, blow up the house?
We were making a telephone, Dad, and I told
Bud.
her. Yes, ma'am?
I want you and Kathy to go right back to Joe's.
But there aren't any lights.
Bud Anderson, if you don't go back to Joe's this very instant...
Hey, what's the matter with our lights?
Jim, will you please do something?
All right, honey.
Did we blow a fuse, too?
Your mother is liable to any second. Joe?
Yes, sir?
Aren't your mother and father at home?
No, sir. You see, we didn't know Kathy was coming over, and when she did, my mother and father decided they had to go to the movies.
Jim, why don't you take the children inside?
All right. Come on, kids.
I'm sure Louise and Tom will understand.
Of course.
Oh, was he the one who's going to get...
Kathy.
Let's all go down to the playroom and see if we can't get this thing straightened out.
Come on, Kathy.
Well, stop pulling me. Why do you always have to pull
See you later,
me?
Mrs. Anderson.
All right, Joe. I'm awfully sorry, Tom.
Oh, that's okay. I don't mind a little noise.
Tom lives at the Y in Middletown, and he's used to having boys around. Aren't you, Tom?
Yeah, I sure am.
I see. Tell me, do you like living at the Y?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I like it fine.
I mean, it isn't like having your own home, is it?
Well, no, but then there wouldn't be any sense in my having my own home, would there? Gosh, I'm not even married.
So we understand.
Margaret, if you don't mind.
Well, I guess I got that all. Ooh.
Jim, why aren't you more careful?
What do you mean careful? It's so dark in here I can't even see where I'm... Oop. I'm sorry, Tom.
Oh, that's all right, Jim.
Yeah. Just about made it, didn't I?
Are the children all right, dear?
Oh, sure. They're going to rig up the phone over here, but they promised not to make any noise.
Oh, dear.
You see, Joe got a telephone outfit for Christmas, and they've been trying to...
Jim, Louise was going to play.
But I was just telling... I'm sorry, Louise. Just go right ahead.
Well...
To a Wild Rose.
All right.
Pretty, isn't it?
Jim.
Well, I was just... Yes.
Everybody, I'm back.
Oh, no.
Go on into the dentec. I'll be right there.
Okay.
Mother, the most terrible thing happened. What are y'all sitting around in the dark for?
The roses grow better that way.
Betty, you said the rehearsal wouldn't be over until 10.
Well, the boiler broke down and there wasn't any heat, and you've never seen any place so cold. Hi, Louise.
Hello, dear.
I haven't met your friend.
Oh, I'm sorry. Betty, this is Tom Goodwin.
How do you do?
Hi, Betty. Louise was telling me
Betty.
Oh, excuse me. I forgot all about Dick. I'll be right in.
Betty, please.
I understand, Mother. We won't make a sound.
How did he get upstairs?
Kathy.
Bud?
We're almost finished, Dad. Kathy.
Betty.
I'm coming.
I don't know what's gotten into those children tonight.
Did you say something, Tom?
No, I was just sitting here, that's all.
Well, ordinarily, you don't even know they're in the house.
Honey.
Well, I mean, you know they're in the house, of course, but... Go ahead, dear.
What?
The piano, you were doing beautifully, wasn't she, Tom?
Oh, she sure was. Just great.
All right, Louise.
If the roses weren't wild in the beginning, they are now.
Jim.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, dear.
Kathy, tell Joe it needs more volume.
Oh, Joe, it needs more volume.
I've got it all the way up now.
He's got it all the way up now.
Well, tell him to turn the plug over.
Joe, turn the plug over.
Okay, wait a minute.
Jim.
Leave them alone, Margaret. They'll stop.
Kathy, ask him how it is now.
Bud, Joe wants to know how it is now.
It's worse. Tell him to put it back the way it was.
Oh, Joe, put it back the way it was. I'll get it.
Jim, I don't think I can stand this for another second.
The kids or the piano?
Louise! Will you excuse us for just a minute? Jim and I have a few things we want to take care of.
Oh, please don't worry about us, Margaret.
Oh, we'll get along fine.
All right, Jim.
What?
We have to take care of those things.
What things?
Kathy!
All those things. We'll be right back, Tom.
Well, don't hurry on our account now. We're not going anywhere.
Hello? Oh, hello, Janie.
Jim, I have never been so embarrassed in my entire life.
Well, this will teach you not to go around playing Cupid. With a house full of kids, what did you expect?
I expected Tom Goodwin to propose, and he's going to.
I'll still take Tennessee in 6 points.
I want you to go right down to the playroom and explain to Kathy and
Why don't I
Bud.
just shoot them and get it over with?
Jim.
Well, how do you expect a bunch of normal kids...
They don't have to practice hog calling tonight, do they?
No, but... Well, I'll speak to them.
I'll take care of Betty, and Jim, please be firm with them.
Oh, sure. I'll tell them they've got to make a very quiet type of noise. Bud?
We're down here, Dad.
Bud, whether or not you know it, you and Kathy are in a jam.
We are?
What'd we do?
Hey, look at this. There's a whole box of things we never even saw.
Well, no wonder it wouldn't work.
Bud, I'm trying to tell you...
Let's go upstairs and try it again.
Kathy.
What?
Now, look. Bud, Kathy. And you too, Joe.
Yes, sir?
I went out and bought a book, and I'm now an expert on child psychology.
You are?
Gosh.
And do you know what the book says to do? If I hear one more peep out of any one of you, I'm come down here and wring your scrawny little necks.
Boy, psychology.
Now, is that understood?
We were only trying to fix up the phone, Dad.
We didn't know you were going to get mad.
All right, just remember, one little peep.
Jim! Oh, Jim!
What's the matter, honey?
Oh, Jim, it happened.
What?
What happened?
Isn't it wonderful, Father? Did he get hung?
Kathy.
I'm so excited I can't even think.
What's going on, Bud?
Louise.
Oh, Jim, I've never been so happy in my whole life.
You mean he did it?
Look, a ring and everything.
Well, what do you know?
Well, congratulate me, Jim. I finally made it.
You finally made it. I mean... Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you, Jim.
They're going to be married in June. Isn't it thrilling?
I should say it.
Yes, sir, and I owe it all to you and Margaret.
To us?
Well, sure. You see, Jim, I was an only child, and things around my house were always, well, kind of quiet.
All right, but...
That's why I was afraid to get married. I thought it'd be sort of dull. But gosh, if it's like this...
You mean you're getting married for the noise?
Isn't it wonderful?
Oh, no.
Tomorrow or Saturday, you'll probably buy coffee for that family of yours. And above all, you'll be shopping for flavor. Then it makes sense, doesn't it, to choose the coffee with the most famous flavor in the world, our Maxwell House coffee. Now, don't take my word. Call in the world's greatest coffee expert. Right, brew a pot of Maxwell House for your husband. He's the final expert on coffee. When he beams and says, best coffee ever, you'll know Maxwell House has the flavor. And for value, well, count for yourself all the truly good cups of coffee you get from every pound. This weekend, look for coffee that gives you your money's worth and more. Look for the friendly blue tin with the big white cup and drop. That's your sign of good coffee. Maxwell House coffee. Always good to the last drop.
It's breakfast time on Maple Street, and the Andersons, 5 little cupids with egg on their chins, are deep in the morning meal and deep in their usual problems. Like this.
Isn't it strange the way things turn out, dear?
You mean Louise and Tom?
Yes. Now, who would ever have guessed that he was so crazy about children?
Louise said they're going to have millions of them.
She said 6.
That's what I said.
Margaret,
Yes, dear.
you don't have any more cousins you'd like to,
No, dear.
not even a second cousin?
Jim, I give you my word, my matchmaking days are over.
Good. May I please have the sugar? Thank you.
Father,
Yes, Benny.
do you know a boy named Frank Culbertson?
No, I don't think so. Why?
Well, he belongs to the athletic club.
What about him?
Well, you must know him, Father. He's 27 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes, 5 feet 11 inches, 165 pounds.
Wait a minute. Even if I did know him, don't you think he's a little old for you?
Oh, I didn't mean for me. But Janie Liggett's cousin is 25, and that's pretty old for a girl to be wandering around without a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just
May I have
wondering if
the
you
cream,
couldn't
please?
sort of drop a hint around the
here you are,
club
Dad.
that you know a
Kathy,
girl
if you don't
who'd
drink
be
your
lots
milk,
of
you're
fun
going to
for
be late
somebody
for
who was
school.
blonde.
Is it all right if I
eyes,
dunk my
who
toes?
was 5 feet
Well, what do you
11,
know? I think the
weighed
sun's trying to come out.
165 pounds.
At breakfast time, you don't have to say,
You children eat your cereal right this instant.
just say,
Hopalong Cassidy is crazy about hot wheat meal.
just a little psychology. Yes, to get your children to eat a hot cereal, just tell them Post Wheat Meal is Hopalong Cassidy's favorite hot cereal. And they'll eat it, too. Post Wheat Meal is chock full of solid whole wheat nourishment, has a wonderful nut-like flavor, and it cooks in just 3.5 minutes. You'll see, you'll all agree, it's the best hot cereal you ever ate. Join us again next week when we'll be back with Father Knows Best, starring Robert Young as Jim Anderson, with June Whitley as Margaret, Roy Bargy and the Maxwell House Orchestra, and yours truly, Bill Forman. So until next Thursday, good night and good luck from the makers of Maxwell House, America's favorite brand of coffee. Always good to the last drop. Father Knows Best was transcribed in Hollywood and written by Ed James. Now stay tuned in for Dragnet, which follows immediately over most of these stations.
Coming up, Dragnet with
JAR101
on NBC. It's time.
Well, since school has been in session for 2 weeks now, our Miss Brooks, who teaches English at Madison High, has practically forgotten about her summer vacation. I say practically because one reminder still reposes in her backyard. A small trailer which Miss Brooks and her landlady, Mrs. Davis, called home for a good part of the summer.
Mrs. Davis called it home. I called it the aluminum mousetrap. Anyway, now that the school season was on, Mrs. Davis was trying to sell it. She had put an ad in the paper early in the week, and by Friday morning at breakfast, I was naturally curious about the results. Any luck with Mousie, Mrs. Davis?
Not much so far, Connie. I've only had 2 prospects all week long, a man and a woman. The woman came on Tuesday and only took one quick glance inside the trailer.
What did she say?
Nothing. She just gave a little scream and left.
What an accurate description. What about the man?
Oh, he thought it was very nice.
Then why didn't he take it?
He said he already had one doghouse.
What did you say in your ad, Mrs. Davis?
Well, you can see for yourself, Connie. It's still in today's paper on the next to the last page.
Really? Well, let's have a look.
It's under trailers for sale.
Oh, thanks. I was looking under dog houses. Ah, here we are, trailers. No, your ad isn't in today.
Well, of course it is. It must be.
There's only one ad for a trailer for sale on this page, and that says, magnificent, super deluxe, spacious trailer. Ideal for family of 4. Buy this trailer and live on the road in complete comfort.
That's it, Connie. That's the ad. Do you think I exaggerated?
Everywhere except in the last sentence. If a family of 4 bought Mousy, the only place they could live in complete comfort is on the road. Mrs. Davis, I'm surprised at you. A 10 by 7 foot trailer is hardly spacious. Your ad simply isn't fair, accurate, or honest.
Well, I guess I just got carried away. But if anyone phones me today, I'll tell them the complete truth. Absolutely everything.
Well, you better not make it everything. There's no use mentioning the fact that if anyone opens the closet door, the ironing board comes down and knocks them cold.
No, we'd never sell it if I mentioned that. How about the scalp wounds you got from the ceiling every time you straightened up?
Well, don't say anything about that either. Maybe we'll get a customer who's under 4'3".
Well, I certainly hope we can sell it, Connie. I could use my share of the $400 for repairs on this house.
Why? Is something wrong?
The pipes in the kitchen are in awful shape. The last few days there's been more water on the floor than in the sink. And it's leaked into the dining room. The plumber's supposed to start working on it today, but I think we'll have to eat out in the trailer tonight.
Oh, that should be cozy. Well, I'd better get ready to go, Mrs. Davis. Walter Denton isn't calling for me this morning, and you know those buses.
Yes, of course, dear. And, Connie, I hope you won't mind having dinner in the trailer too much.
Not at all. I'll go to shop class first thing this morning and rehearse.
Rehearse?
Yes, I'll hit myself on the head with a hammer a few times.
The old wrist action's still there, Harriet. Certainly feels great to have a fishing rod in my hand once more.
Oh, I'm sure it does, Daddy, but I'd say a principal's office is hardly the place for a fishing rod if anyone were to ask me.
Relax, no one's going to.
But what's it doing in here, Daddy?
It's waiting to go on a little fishing trip with me. This may be my last opportunity this year, Harriet, and I've heard of a wonderful lake about 100 miles from here. Real rugged territory. There are practically no cabins on it and no place open to tourists.
Then where are you going to sleep?
Well, I've got my own ideas about that. Has Miss Brooks come in yet?
I don't think so. I haven't seen her this morning. You know, Daddy, I've never seen you treat her as nicely as you have so far this term.
She's never had a trailer before this term. Well, why shouldn't I treat a deserving teacher nicely?
I get it. The only reason you're so
Harriet,
nice...
you'll be late for class. Now run along.
Yeah, but Daddy, Oh, there's Miss Brooks coming up the walk now.
Where? Oh, yes, there's my pigeon. Miss Brooks. Now, if you'll excuse me, Harriet, I'd like to have a few words with her before classes begin.
Can't I even wait to say good morning to her?
You cannot. By the time you two get through saying good morning, it's time for lunch. Through my inner office, please, Harriet.
Yeah, but, Daddy...
Exit smiling, girl.
Oh, all right.
Yes, the old wrist action's still there. I walk slowly to the door. I should arrive there just in time to say, good morning, Miss Brooks.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Conklin. Catching much?
That's rich. If you'll step into my office, there's something I'd like to discuss with you.
Yes, sir.
Now, please, sit down. No. Not over there. Over here in the comfortable chair.
Huh? Oh, I forgot. This is a brand new type term.
Miss Brooks, I'll come directly to the point. The reason I have this fishing rod in my hand is because I intend to go fishing this weekend.
Sounds logical.
However, the lake in which I want to fish is quite a distance from here, a magnificent place, miles away from civilization. It's called Ooh Mimi Tokaluti Gucci Mumu Lake.
Ooh Mimi. I doubt if I can make it.
It's quite simple. Ooh Mimi Tokaluki Gucci Mumu. It's an Indian name.
What does it mean?
Blue.
I'd hate to hear their name for purple.
They say that the fishing at Ooh Mimi Tukaluti Gucci Mumu is the finest in the country. Very few people have found out about it so far.
Very few people could ask directions.
Yes. However, there are absolutely no tourist accommodations in the neighborhood, and that is where I thought you could help, Miss Brooks.
Me?
Yes, knowing you as I do, I felt confident that you would be more than happy to lend me your trailer for the weekend.
Oh, but it's Mrs. Davis's trailer, too, Mr. Conklin. And although I know she would cooperate, we just couldn't let you have it this weekend. I don't like to disappoint you, sir, so I won't. How would you like to have the trailer at your disposal every weekend from now on?
Every weekend? Miss Brooks, are you serious?
I have never been more so. All you have to do is buy it.
Buy it? Buy the trailer?
Did I say a naughty word? It's only $400.
Miss Brooks, I haven't the slightest need for a trailer except on rare occasions. Since this weekend is one of them, I should like to borrow the vehicle.
Well, sir, in that case, I can't possibly
Don't give me your decision at once, Miss Brooks. Think it over for a while.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Conklin.
Bearing in mind, of course, how pleasant your life here at Madison has been so far this term, and that as my subordinate, it is within my power to continue to help make it the pleasant thing it's been, or on the other hand...
What time would you like to pick it up?
I'll be over about 7 o'clock. Now, I believe you have a class to make, Miss Brooks, so I won't keep you another minute.
Yes, sir. Goodbye, Mr. Conklin.
See you at 7, Miss Brooks.
See you at 7, Miss Brooks. What a dictator. But if he spends a weekend in our trailer, I'll be even with him.
Oh, Miss Brooks. Oh, there you are. I've been looking all over for you.
Good morning, Mr. Boynton.
Oh, here, let me carry your books for you, Miss Brooks.
Why, thank you. You know, you've been very considerate to me lately.
Well, I think friends should do things for one another, Miss Brooks. Don't you feel that way?
Absolutely. Here, let me carry your books for you.
That isn't quite what I had in mind. But there is a favor I have to ask of you. And because of the urgency of my problem, I'm going to need an answer immediately.
Immediately?
I hope you don't mind my pressing you.
Bribery will get you nowhere. What's the favor?
Well, my apartment house was sold last week, and the new owner needs my apartment for his family. So far, I haven't been able to find a place I can afford, and I have to move by tonight.
Oh, that's terrible.
I'd be satisfied with any sort of a small place to stay in for the weekend until I can find another apartment. I was wondering if you have any suggestions.
You bet I have. I know a place you can live in rent-free.
You do?
Sure. Why don't you buy our trailer?
Buy your trailer? Buy it?
I'd better watch my language. It's only $400, Mr. Boynton.
$400? How could I possibly get $400 in one lump?
Roll it together. Maybe it wouldn't have to be in one lump. Mrs. Davis and I would consider time payment.
No, thanks. I'm not in the market for a trailer, Miss Brooks. But if you could only let me stay in it for the weekend, I'd be indebted to you for life.
Well, I'd like to help you, but...
Oh, you can't let me down, Miss Brooks. You've just got to let me sleep in your backyard tonight.
Well, maybe I can work it out, Mr. Boynton, but there's one thing I think you should know.
Oh, what's that?
You might go to sleep in my backyard, but there's a very good chance that you'll wake up in Ooh Mimi Tokaludi Gucci Mumu Lake. Well, having promised our trailer to both Mr. Conklin and Mr. Boynton for the weekend, I had to think of some way of breaking my promise to Mr. Conklin. I was too busy to think about it all morning, but at lunchtime, while I was sitting alone in the cafeteria pondering the problem, My reverie was interrupted by the dulcet tones of Walter Denton.
Salutations, most revered educator. Well, first, I want to apologize because I couldn't drive you to school this morning.
Oh, that's all right.
No, I really felt terrible about it, Miss Brooks, because it's always such a great pleasure to serve you. Such a truly great pleasure.
Well, thank you, Walter.
Isn't there something I can do for you now? Anything at all? You just name it and I'll do it. Anything. Anything you want. Anything?
Down, boy, down. Just what favor are you after, Walter?
Favor? From you? Miss Brooks, I'm chagrined. Well, how can you possibly look for hidden motives in one who is not only your greatest admirer and supporter, but one who...
No, you can't borrow my trailer for the weekend.
Well, fine friend you are. I wanted to use it as a dark room. But how'd you know that's what I was going to ask you?
Because two of my other greatest admirers and supporters, namely Mr. Conklin and Mr. Boynton, have already borrowed it for this weekend.
Mr. Conklin and Mr. Boynton, are they going someplace together?
It's beginning to look that way.
Hi, Miss Brooks. Hello, Walter.
Hello, Harriet.
I'm glad I found you, Miss Brooks. There's something I've been wanting to ask you.
The answer is no, but you can buy it if you want to.
What are you talking about, Miss Brooks? I was just going to ask you to call Mrs. Davis. She just phoned and said it's urgent that she speak with you.
Well, where was I when the call came in?
On your way up here, I guess. Why don't you do it right now? You can use the payphone on the wall. Got a dime?
Here, I got a dime. Here, take this dime, please. Go ahead. I forgot. I can't have the trailer.
I have a dime. I owe the bus driver, but I have a dime. If you'll excuse me, I'll use it right away. I wonder what could be so urgent. Oh, well, I'll know in a minute. You and the night and the music fill me with flaming desire.
How nice of you to say so. Is that you, Henry?
No, Mrs. Davis, it's Connie. Connie Brooks. But who's Henry?
The butcher. He said he'd called for my order this morning.
Well, if that's the way he feels about you, why have our chops been so tough lately? Never mind, Mrs. Davis. What is it you wanted to talk to me about?
Talk to you about?
Yes, when you called me.
No, isn't that funny? I could have sworn that you called me. Well, whoever called who, let's make our conversation brief. Our party line gets pretty busy this time of day, and I don't want to keep the phone occupied too long.
Well, you're certainly considerate, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, it isn't that, Connie. It's just that I find their conversation so much more interesting than mine.
Well, I'll try to be as entertaining as possible. Look, Mrs. Davis, you gave Harriet Conklin the message to have me call you at once. Now, concentrate. What was it about? Your health? The house? The plumber? The trailer?
That's it, Connie. The trailer.
You haven't sold it, have you?
Not yet, dear, but practically. The man who phoned seemed very interested. He didn't balk at the price, but he wanted to see it before he bought it.
I knew there was a joker in the deal. When's he coming over?
At about 7 tonight.
At 7?
Yes. I asked him to join us for dinner in the trailer. Of course, I told him it was quite spacious, so I thought it would give him a greater illusion of roominess if only one of us had dinner with him. Or can you think of a better idea?
Not unless he goes in by himself and we toss his food to him through the window. Mrs. Davis, I'd better get busy. Mr. Conklin and Mr. Boynton were scheduled to be over here at 7, too.
Mr. Conklin and Mr. Boynton? You mean they thought they might buy our trailer?
Watch that word, Mrs. Davis. There are ladies present. I'll see you later, but right now I'd better say goodbye.
All right, dear. Go ahead.
Goodbye, Mrs. Davis.
Goodbye, Henry.
Now, that ought to confuse the party line.
What did Mrs. Davis want, Miss Brooks?
She's got a customer for our trailer, Walter. The only trouble is he's due to arrive the same time as Mr. Conklin and Mr. Boynton, and you know the size of that trailer.
Oh, I certainly do. But I have biology class with Mr. Boynton this afternoon, so if you want, I'll tell him not to show up this evening.
Oh, I'd appreciate that, Walter.
And when I see Daddy, I'll tell him not to come either, Miss Brooks.
Thanks, Harriet. That'll take a big load off my mind. No disrespect intended. Now, there's just one more thing I should do to ensure the sale of our trailer.
What's that, Miss Brooks?
Get the customer not to show up. Well, since Mrs. Davis had invited a prospective buyer to have dinner with us in the aluminum cigar box that passes as a trailer, Mr. Boynton and Mr. Conklin had to make other plans for the weekend. Later that evening, as Mrs. Davis was cooking dinner in our trailer, I sat perfectly still so as not to crowd her. Mrs. Davis, you've been over that stove long enough. Now it's my turn to stand up.
No, you stay on the dinette seat a little while longer, Connie. There's just not enough room for the two of us to move around.
But I insist, Mrs. Davis, it's my turn to stand up.
Well, that's the way you feel about it. Come ahead.
Thanks. Like I say, it's my turn to sit down.
Oh, dear, did you hurt your head badly?
No worse than usual. Between the ceiling and this closet with a sneaky ironing board, I'm getting used to it.
Oh, I fixed that closet, Connie. Try it now.
All right.
I must have fixed something else. You'll find some gauze in the medicine cabinet I just put up.
Where? Oh, here. It's a very handy place for it. I'll get it. I'm standing right by the door, as who isn't? Mr. Boynton, what are you doing here? Didn't Walter Denton ask you not to show up this evening?
Well, no, I never got back to school this afternoon. I had so much packing to do, Mr. Conklin gave me the time off. I guess he took my classes himself.
Well, now that you're here, you might as well come in while I tell you why you have to leave right away.
Thanks. Oh, hello, Mrs. Davis.
Hello, Mr. Boynton. It's a shame you have to be running along so soon.
You see, Mr. Boynton, we've got a prospective buyer for the trailer, and he's due here in about 5 minutes. I rushed right back to help Mrs. Davis get the trailer in shape.
Oh, I see.
The ad said this was quite a spacious trailer, so we wanted to show it to him under the best possible circumstances, which is empty, or as empty as possible.
It is quite tiny, isn't it? We're in pretty close quarters right now.
Yes, it has got its advantages.
Well, I'd better be going. I'm afraid I'm making you and Mrs. Davis uncomfortable.
Oh, you can stay a little while longer, Mr. Boynton. We're not a bit uncomfortable, are we, Mrs. Davis? Mrs. Davis, where are you?
Under the dinette table, dear. I'm afraid it might be a little crowded with the three of us standing.
Oh, don't be silly, Mrs. Davis. Please get up. There, it isn't too crowded at all.
Well, we're almost cheek to cheek, Miss Brooks.
I know. One more person in here and we'd be over the top. You're not really uncomfortable, are you, Mr. Boynton?
Uncomfortable? Well, I must confess I'm a bit warm.
Why, Mr. Boynton.
Maybe he's sitting on the stove.
Don't be a killjoy.
I'd better be going, Miss Brooks. Your customer should be here any minute.
Or even sooner. Mr. Conklin, what are you doing here?
What am I doing here? I'm going fishing. That's what I'm doing here. Oh, hello, Margaret. And Boynton, what are you doing here?
What am I doing here?
He was just leaving. That's what he's doing here. But, Mr. Conklin, didn't Harriet give you my message asking you to cancel your visit?
I got no message of any kind. Right after school, I locked myself in my workroom and spent the afternoon tying flies.
Well, if you can't beat 'em, tie 'em.
Well, you see, Osgood, we're expecting a prospective buyer.
I don't care who you're expecting. I've made arrangements to go fishing, and I'm staying in this trailer for the weekend. Now, where can I put this fishing gear?
Oh, there's a closet at your elbow, sir.
Oh, no, Mr. Conklin, you better not try
I
to...
said I was staying, Miss Brooks. I'll just open this closet.
Well, it looks like he's staying, all right. I only wish that... I'll get it. Why, Harriet.
Hi, Miss Brooks.
Might as well come aboard, Harriet. All right, everybody. Inhale.
Miss Brooks, I just came over to tell you that I missed Daddy today at school, so I couldn't give him your message. By the time I got home, he wasn't there either. Now I don't know where he is.
You're standing on him.
Oh, please take your foot away.
Why, Daddy, what are you doing down there?
I was viciously attacked from behind.
By a sneaky ironing board. But I'm glad you're with us again, sir. Here, let me help you up. Well, are we all nicely wedged in again?
Miss Brooks, I insist that you get everyone out of here so I can be on my way.
We'll discuss it in a moment, sir. Just as soon as I see who this is.
Hello, Miss Brooks. I came over to tell you I missed Mr. Boynton today. I just couldn't seem to find him anywhere.
Step back, Walter. Your breath is taking the starch out of his collar. Come on in.
I'm trying to.
Here, let me help you, Walter.
Yeah.
Come on, everybody. Give a little. What was that?
My suspenders just went.
Mr. Conklin, I said give a little, not all. Well, don't worry, sir. With this crowd, your trousers will never make it to the floor. Are you in yet, Walter?
Yes, I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm in.
I'm out.
Harriet, pull Mr. Boynton back in. Atta girl. Now, is everyone all right? I think we'd better call the roll just to make sure. Mr. Conklin, where are you?
Wedged in tight between my daughter and Mrs. Davis.
Walter?
I'm wedged in next to Harriet, too, Miss Brooks.
Oh, shut up!
Mrs. Davis?
I'm stuck next to Mr. Boynton.
Stuck, she says. How about you, Mr. Boynton? Now, how did you get your neck caught under my arm? Oh, well. This must be our customer. Now, let's not get panicky.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Are you the man Mrs. Davis spoke to on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Well, won't you come in?
You're kidding, of course.
I guess it does appear a bit crowded to you.
A wee bit, yes. It's sort of like opening a can of sardines and finding 5 or 6 live ones inside.
Yes. Well, I suppose you'd like to speak to Mrs. Davis.
I would indeed.
I'm Mrs. Davis.
Where?
Right here on Mr. Boynton's arm. Bend over, Mr. Boynton, and let me have a look at him.
Certainly, Mrs. Davis. Oh, there you are, Mrs. Davis.
No, you're looking at Walter Denton. Mrs. Davis is under his other arm.
Oh, of course.
Let me show you some of the trailer's features, sir. For instance, right over there are the stove and icebox.
Where?
Harriet Conklin is in front of them. Then her father, Mr. Conklin, is in front of the bed. And Mr. Boynton is in front of the bathroom. Neat, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yes, indeed. Everybody in here looks very livable. But I don't know why you're telling me all this.
Why we're telling you? Well, you're interested, aren't you?
I'm fascinated. Things like this don't happen to a plumber every day.
Plumber?
Well, yes, ma'am. I came here to report on the kitchen pipes.
Did you take a look at them?
Every one of them. All over the yard.
All over the yard?
What is all this anyway?
Well, he's a red one, isn't he? Well, you see, Mrs. Davis, the pressure in one of the pipes behind your stove became through the wall right off your service porch.
Why, that's terrible.
Oh, it certainly is. And it's been happening to me with alarming frequency lately. Almost every time I work around a stove, a wall blows out. Well, there's nothing more I can do tonight.
Oh, yes, there is. How would you like to make $10 right now?
$10? How?
Do a little work on the stove in this trailer.
Mr. Conklin was played by Gail Gordon. Others in tonight's cast were Jane Morgan, Dick Crenna, Bob Rockwell, Gloria McMillan, and Joel Samuels. Be sure to be with us.
Hey, thanks for listening to Classic Radio JAR101.
Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. And I'd like to talk about an adventure myself, an adventure in good eating. It begins with a good wine, Petri California Sauterne. You just serve that Petri Sauterne the next time you have fried chicken. Do you like fried chicken? Cooked so it's crispy and a beautiful reddish gold color on the outside and just as tender as all get out on the inside. Ah, that's chicken. But wait till you try it with Petri Sauterne. That's a wine. That Petri Sauterne is a pale, delicate golden color. You can just look at it and you know it's going to be one of the most delicious wines you've ever tasted. if not the most delicious. Petri Sauterne is not only wonderful with chicken, it's great with fish or any kind of seafood, too. Get a bottle of Petri Sauterne. When it's a Petri wine, it's a good wine. And now I'm sure Dr. Watson's expecting us, so let's go in and join him.
Come in. Ah, there you are, Mr. Bartell.
Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening. Draw up your chair by the fire. That's it. The tobacco's in the jar beside you over there.
Thanks. Well, Doctor, all ready for tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure?
Yes, Mr. Bartell. Though on this occasion I'm going to tell the story a little differently. You see, I didn't take part in it myself, so I shall act as a narrator and recount the adventure as it was told me some years after it actually took place.
Told you by Sherlock Holmes, I suppose.
Yes. At the time the story happened, the whole world, including myself, believed that my old friend had been dead for 3 years.
What did he do with himself during those 3 years, Doctor?
Wandered about the world, Persia, Egypt, the south of France, and 2 years of his time was spent in Tibet, where he disguised himself as a Norwegian explorer by the name of Sergerson, his object being to visit the forbidden city of Lhasa. The story began as Holmes stood on the outskirts of a tiny encampment, high in the Tibetan snows, disguised as a Norwegian Sergerson. Surrounding him was an excited group of native guides, their fur-capped faces and shaggy sheepskin coats making them appear like strange, wild animals as they stood there gesticulating wildly. The freezing wind whirled great clouds of snow away from the mountaintop that loomed above them. And Holmes told me that he felt a premonition of impending disaster.
Sir, my men will go no further. They say the goddess of the mountain is angry. If we climb further, she will swallow us up. She will bury us.
But we cannot go back now. We have come so far, 1,000 feet, 800 feet higher. We shall reach the pass. We shall be safe.
I will not go. We can stay back there in the tents until the goddess of the mountain tells us we may go further.
He is right. We can't go. We don't want to go anymore. It's too...
Fools! If you stay here in the wilderness, in the village, and the avalanche comes, you will all be buried. You will be swept away. The only road lies upward.
We will not go.
Back to the tent. The wind is rising.
Then I shall go on alone.
Holmes was the only one who survived. He struggled up the pass that led to safety, the icy gale whipping round him in a frenzy. A few moments after he reached the top, the avalanche occurred. The tents, the guides, and all their equipment were buried beneath hundreds of feet of hurtling, thundering snow. The way behind him was closed. He could only forge ahead. Alone, unaided, he descended the path that led to the plateau beyond. But the goddess of the mountain was still angry. Through the knifing wind and snow he battled on, without food and without, as he told me later, much hope. Even Holmes was helpless in that battle of man against the elements. What happened in that 36 hours he never really knew, except that the wind howled and the driving snow slashed at him without mercy. Finally, his mind began to wander, and he became delirious.
Watson, dear boy, hand me my violin, will you? Moriarty, I want to introduce to you the goddess of the mountain. I think you will have a lot in common. 221B Baker Street, cabby. For heaven's sake, get me there as fast as you can. I think I've caught a chill.
Though his mind was wandering, his great strength combined with instinctive urge for self-preservation must have kept him on his feet. But finally he returned to normal consciousness to find himself jogging along a rough road in a primitive cart drawn by 2 oxen. The sun shining on him, and a white girl feeding him warm broth from a cup. For a moment the girl looked at him with a comforting smile, and then she spoke.
No wonder you look puzzled, poor man. You can't make up your mind whether you're in this world or the next.
Who are you? And how did I get here, please?
My name is Eileen Farley. I'm a medical missionary. I found you wandering out of your mind 2 days ago, and I've taken you under my wing. We're going to the monastery of Panchapushpa.
I'm most grateful to you, Miss Farley. You have saved my life. Permit me to introduce myself. My name is Sigerson, Olaf Sigerson. I'm a Norwegian explorer.
Oh, no. No, your name is Sherlock Holmes, and you're a famous English detective.
Please, I don't understand you.
Mr. Holmes, you've been delirious for the last 2 days. In your ravings, I was delighted to learn that the great Sherlock Holmes did not die 2 years ago at the Reichenbach Falls.
I can see that further simulation is useless, my dear young lady. However, I must implore you to keep my secret. It's essential that for a while longer, the world continues to think me dead.
You don't need to worry, Mr. Holmes. I'm a great admirer of yours, and I promise that no one will ever learn your secret from my lips. Try drinking a little more broth. You're dreadfully weak.
Thank you so much.
Help me, please. Please, to give me help.
Another white man travels the road to Panchapushpa. Stop the cart! You need help?
My own cart has broken the wheel. You're going perhaps to the monastery of Panchapushpa?
We are.
Good. Fyodor Dmitrievich Borodin, Imperial Russian envoy, will travel with you. Please to make room. Spasibo.
Remember my secret.
The cart may proceed. Понимаешь? Your name, please, young lady.
Eileen Farley. I'm an American medical missionary.
I do not approve of missionaries, but you are very beautiful. So Borodin will forgive you. Who is this mujik lying on the floor? He looks half dead.
I am half dead, Gospodin Borodin. My name is Sigerson. I am Norwegian.
What is a Norwegian doing in Tibet?
I have been exploring the mountains. And what, may I ask, is a Russian doing in Tibet, Gospodin Borodin?
What is a Russian doing? You shall see, my friend. To Holy Mother Russia shall belong Tibet. But now let us be gay. We have some hours ahead of us. You like vodka, Miss Farley?
I'm afraid I don't drink.
Borodin will teach you to drink. Then he will sing you songs of his native Russia. We shall be happy. Ay, chiki, 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 gor, vashnie more, dyastri.
Singing. Holmes told me that every note jarred his aching, weary head. After a few hours, the strangely assorted trio arrived at the gates of the monastery. An edifice, as Holmes told me, of great antiquity and of breathtaking beauty, and built in the shadow of a giant mountain. He was fed and bathed, and shortly afterwards he found himself together with his 2 companions in the presence of the head abbot himself, a man of great age and infinite wisdom. The faint chanting of religious music could be heard coming from another part of the monastery. As the old man spoke,
My dear Miss Farley, my dear gentlemen, I have welcomed you to the monastery, and yet each one of you has come to me separately and asked that he be given permission to go to the sacred city of Lhasa. I cannot give that permission, my children.
Borodin has traveled a long way. Russia will be most unhappy if he does not get the permission.
I am an explorer, Reverend Sir. Will not that fact entitle me to some consideration?
I, too, have traveled a great way, sir.
My children, I realize your claims, but the permission is not in my power to grant. Tibet is ruled by our Chinese overlords. In any case, I will ask you to turn your heads. The gentleman approaching us has preceded you in residence here. He also wishes to tread the road to Lhasa.
You have new visitors, I see.
Yes, my son. Permit me to introduce you. Sir Harvey Forrester, and this is Miss Eileen Farley.
How do you do?
How do you do, Sir Harvey?
Gospodin Borodin from Russia.
How do you do? One cannot travel the world without meeting an Englishman. God we push it, Watsy.
And Mr. Olaf Sigerson from Norway.
God dag, Sir Harvey.
How do you do?
Please be seated. My children, the Chinese ruler in this province has heard of your presence here he has announced his intention of visiting you. Before he arrives, I should like to ask you each a question. 4 of you, all from different countries, have traveled here to the mountains of Tibet. At this monastery, I can offer you refreshment, the opportunity of acquiring wisdom and peace. What more do you seek in Lhasa? I shall ask you each that question in turn. You, Miss Farley, what do you seek?
I seek the opportunity to bring both God and health to your Tibetan people.
And you, Mr. Segerson?
I seek to chart the true course of your mountains, and so to bring knowledge to the world.
And you, Gospodin Borodin?
I seek to bring about complete understanding between the great peoples of Tibet and Russia. If I succeed, Tsar and his family may consider turning to Buddhism.
Indeed. And you, Sir Harvey, as representative of the British government, what do you seek?
I shall not join in this contest of wishful thinking. I merely remind you, sir, that your government has signed a treaty with mine.
And was not that treaty forced upon us by our Chinese overlords? No, my children. You have advanced brave reasons, but I cannot help remembering that the streams of Tibet bear gold nuggets the size of hazelnuts. You foreigners, in your pitiful ignorance, esteem gold. That signals the arrival of Watson, the Chinese emissary. Your problems will soon be settled, my children. I will acquaint him with your request.
Why are you smiling, Mr. Holmes?
At the name of the Chinese overlord, Watson. Must avoid falling into old habits and saying, elementary, my dear Watson.
Shh. He's going to speak.
Silence! Silence! The abbot has told me your wishes. I will hold conference. American lady and Norwegian will not be allowed. Only Great Britain and Russia have treaties with my country.
I insist that I have prior right over the Russian representative.
Short me. I represent the Tsar, and Russia is your neighbor. I demand my diplomatic privilege.
Follow me. I will decide these things, not you.
I shall inform the British consul in Peking if proceedings...
This is an insult to the Tsar. Holy Mother Russia will never...
Well, Mr. Holmes, it looks as if you and I, at any rate, don't get to Lhasa.
No.
You look worried. Does the journey to Lhasa mean so much to you?
It isn't that. I'm worried about the potential danger that hangs over this monastery. Violent forces are at work.
What do you mean, Mr. Holmes?
As you know, Miss Farley, I have some specialized acquaintance with these matters, and I tell you that I have rarely seen more clearly exemplified that emotional tension which leads to one thing, murder. That is what I'm afraid of, young lady. Murder.
That was what Holmes was afraid of. Late that day, as the sun was setting over the mountaintop, the old abbot walked slowly in the monastery gardens as he talked to the man who he thought to be Segerson.
Mr. Segerson, what can I do to help you? Our conversation has pleased me. You are a man of rare perception and knowledge. I grant you one worthy to enter Lhasa, but I can offer no hope. Mr. J.A.R. has already rejected the applications of both the Englishman and the Russian.
He did that?
He did, my son. He told me they were both very angry and threatened him.
If anything were to happen to the Chinese emissary, would you have the right to grant permission for the journey to Lhasa?
Yes, until the new envoy arrived in Peking. But what are you suggesting, my son? This monastery is a haven of peace, a backwater far from the troubled stream of life. No violence has ever occurred here.
I hope it never will. Yet, the Chinese envoy was threatened, you say, Reverend Sir?
Yes, my son.
He has left the monastery, of course.
No, those who come here, even for a short visit, must break bread with us and sleep at least one night. Mr. J.A.R. is quartered in the cell you see before us.
Then do you mind if we call on him, Reverend Sir?
Of course not, my son, though you will waste your breath in talking to him. He will not give you permission to take the road to Lhasa. He sleeps, my son. Let us not disturb him.
If you don't mind, Reverend Sir, I must waken him, if he can be wakened.
What can be wrong?
I think I know. I'm going in. Where is your answer, Reverend Sir?
He is dead.
Yes, sir. Strangled with his own cue.
Oh, the poor, misguided man has taken his own life, my son.
No, sir. Look at those marks on his shoulder. He has been murdered.
But what are we to do?
As it happens, Reverend Sir, I've had certain amount of experience with these matters in my own country. If I were to produce the murderer for you with certain proof of his guilt, would you authorize my going to Lhasa?
Yes, since for a few days that mission is mine to give, I will grant it. You fill me with a strange confidence, but how will you find this taker of life?
I can't tell you now, sir, but I shall find him. All that I require is a little assistance from you, sir.
Of course. What is it?
Let us both leave the cell, post a guard here, and give him strict orders that no one is to enter unless accompanied by me.
Very well. But, my son, where are you going?
Before very long, sir. I hope to be on my way to Lhasa.
Dr. Watson will tell us the rest of his story immediately, so I'll just take a second to remind you that hamburgers, hamburgers, are practically an all-American food. We all love a good hamburger, but wait till you taste a juicy hamburger together with a glass of Petri California Burgundy. Boy, that Petri Burgundy is a hearty red wine that's just the best friend a hamburger or steak or any kind of meat dish ever had. So remember, if you want a red wine for dinner, you want Petri Burgundy. If you prefer a white wine, you want Petri Sauterne. And if you can't make up your mind which you want, it's simple. Don't buy one, buy two. But always buy Petri. Petri, Petri. Well, Dr. Watson, it seems to me that Sherlock Holmes was in a tough spot. There he was, thousands of miles from England. A murderer was running loose. Holmes was in disguise. And he hadn't got you to help him on the case.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Bartell. I must say I think that I always was useful to my old friend, but I wasn't there. So this time he enlisted the services of Eileen Farley, the American girl. Immediately after he'd left the cell of the murdered man, he'd gone to Miss Farley and told her of the tragedy. As they returned to the scene of the crime, he found that his instructions had been carried out and that a guard was barring the entrance to the dead man's cell.
There's a guard in front of the cell.
My instructions. The abbot gave you your orders.
Yes, you may go in.
Please close the door behind us. I'm sure your nerves are up to this, Miss Farley. It's not a pretty sight.
I've seen sudden death before, Mr. Holmes. In any case, I wouldn't end up your friend. I'm so flattered that you asked me to help you.
You were the only one who knew my true identity. That's why I suggested you take my old friend's place. I need, what shall I say? I needed a sounding board for my deductions. Wait a minute, here. I'll light a match. There we are. Now, here's a candle.
Oh!
I warned you it wasn't a pretty sight. Hold the candle, will you please, Miss Farley? Thank you. This isn't hard to reconstruct. Killer stood behind his victim, held him by the left shoulder. So, wound his cue around his neck and pulled back. Yes. The marks are self-evident. Hello. What's this on the floor at his feet?
A cigarette. Dropped as it was burning, I should think. And now it's nothing but ash.
Exactly, ash. Now, which of the visitors at the monastery smoke cigarettes?
Yourself, the Russian, and Sir Harvey, the Englishman.
I think we may justifiably omit myself from the list of suspects. So that narrows us down to two. Look, Miss Farley.
What is it?
There are clear traces here to the naked eye, not only of tobacco ash and paper, but of cardboard.
But what does that signify, Mr. Holmes?
The case is nearly solved. Come on, young lady. We must pay a visit to Borodin's cell at once.
Arguments. Always, Sir Harvey Forrester, you give me the argument.
But, my dear Borodin...
I am not your dear Borodin. I'm Pyotr Dmitrovich Borodin, ambassador of Holy Mother Russia, and no friend of yours. Come in. The missionary girl and the sick Norwegian. Come in. We will drink vodka, and I will sing Russian songs for you.
We haven't come here to listen to songs. The Chinese envoy was murdered tonight.
So we have been told, my dear. Sir Harvey and I are very happy because of his death, are we not?
Well, I won't pretend I'm heartbroken.
Rasputin Borodin.
What is it, Norwegian?
You were in the cell tonight at the time of the murder.
Huh? That's a lie.
I can prove it. In that cell, I just found ashes, a totally burned cigarette, ashes that included fragments of cardboard. Only a Russian cigarette has a cardboard mouthpiece.
What you can or cannot prove is of no interest to me, Sigerson.
He's very obstinate tonight, Sigerson. We've just been having a political argument. Couldn't agree on a single point, except on the danger of the common man. He was telling me of the most extraordinary revolution in his estates. Do you know they chop off one of his hands?
Dreadful.
Your hand, Borodin. Which one?
As God was merciful, my left hand.
The one beneath your glove?
Is made of wax, my good Norwegian. Is made of wax. Well, see for yourself. Extraordinary.
It's more than that. It is conclusive proof.
What do you mean, Mr. Sigerson?
I cannot tell you now. I must leave you here. Let me warn you, the three of you will be well advised to keep an eye on each other. Meanwhile, I must see the abbot.
Why, Mr. Sigerson?
Because now I know who murdered Vatsun.
The pink fingers of dawn are stealing across the mountaintop, my son. Soon you will be on your way to Lhasa.
Yes, Reverend Sir. You have kept your promise.
You kept yours, Mr. Sigerson. The Chinese soldiers have arrived, and the taker of life has been given into their custody. Before you leave, my son, I want you to do something for me.
Anything, Reverend Sir. What is it?
The hooded figure in the corner is that of the monastery scribe. He keeps our annals. I want you to explain for our records how you knew which one of the three was the taker of life.
It was not difficult, sir. The killer had gripped Vatsun's shoulder with the left hand, while the right was used to strangle him. Therefore, the Russian Borodin could not be the killer, since his left hand was artificial.
Quite so. It was, as you told me, made of wax. Then...
But the clue of the cigarette pointed directly to the Russian. Therefore, it had obviously been planted there deliberately to incriminate him. Now, there is no trained police force in Tibet.
We need no police. There is no crime here, my son. But continue.
Why should the cigarette be planted to incriminate the Russian? Unless there was someone capable of making the deduction from a handful of cigarette ash. Therefore, the murderer was the one person who knew my true identity. Miss Eileen Farley, a supposed missionary.
No missionary, as it transpired when she confessed, and no American.
No, a Secret Service agent of German origin, seeking to reach Lhasa before the Russians, and infuriated by Vatsun's denial of passage. Any Secret Service is better off without such employee.
She will pay for her mortal sins. May she redeem herself in her next place on the wheel. My son.
Yes, Reverend Sir.
You are about to leave me, and I shall never see you again. Though evil and death came to Panchapushpa and to my monastery in the caravan that brought you here, I shall miss you, my son. I shall miss you greatly.
And I you, Reverend Sir.
Would you consider staying here? I can only offer you peace, a shelter from the outside world, and quiet companionship.
Three great gifts, sir. But I cannot take them. My work is not done. I must go on.
Of course, my son. It was an old man's dream. One last question.
What is it, sir?
You spoke of your true identity just now. Who are you, my son?
Reverend Sir, I cannot tell even you the answer to that question. One day, perhaps, but not now. Let us just say that I have wandered through a world of trouble, just as you have remained tranquil in a world of peace. I hope, sir, that we shall meet again.
I hope so, too. Goodbye, my son.
Goodbye, Reverend Sir. Goodbye.
Doctor, that was really an unusual story. You told it so well, I felt you were actually a part of it.
No, my boy, as I said, the story was told me by Holmes. I've never been to Tibet. Been to India, of course. I never really wanted to go to Tibet. Horrible mountains, terrible weather, lots of bandits on the roads. Sort of dangerous place.
Doctor, you're not afraid of danger, are you?
10 years ago, Mr. Bartell, a question like that had been insult. Today I realize that all of us, unless we're stupid, have some fear of danger. I would say that I'm definitely not a coward, nor am I a thrill seeker, but I've done with searching for something new.
Me too, Doctor. I'm through searching for something new also. Now that I've found Petri wine, I'm going to stick to it.
Mr. Bartell, no matter what we talk about, when you say it, it always sounds like Petri wine.
Well, why not? I can't think of a more delicious wine. And no wonder. The Petri family has been making the fine Petri wines for generations. Ever since the 1800s, they've handed on down from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious, sun-ripened grapes into fragrant, delicious wine. And because the making of Petri wine is a family affair, you can rest assured that the Petri family takes pride in doing a good job. They won't put that name Petri on any wine that isn't up to the high Petri standards. Yes, if it's Petri wine, you know it's good wine. Because Petri took time to bring you good wine. Well, Dr. Watson, what new Sherlock Holmes adventure do you plan to tell us next week?
Well, now, next week, Mr. Bartell, I'm going to tell you a story that started off in a very light-hearted way and ended on the same note. And yet it involved Sherlock Holmes and myself in serious danger and caused us intense humiliation. I call it The Adventure of the Pigeon Feathers.
Sounds swell, Doctor.
Oh, thank you very much. And before you go, I want to remind the families of our returned veterans that their sons are more than heroes. They not only fought bravely, but in the armed forces they acquired new skills, learned or bettered themselves in some trade or furthered their education. Our men have returned with a new maturity and a new wisdom. They'll be more valuable to past or to future employers and more valuable to their country. The greatest assets America has at this moment are her veterans. Remember that. Good night.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure was written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by incident in the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Adventure of the Empty House. Music is by Dean Foster. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studios.